Have you ever pondered what happens when you simply disappear from someone's life? I don't mean to back off slightly. I mean to completely disappear. No calls, no texts, no contact. Imagine how they would truly feel in a society where people often take others for granted. Let's change the script and make them disappear. I can assure you that their entire world would collapse. Welcome to the most significant. We'll explore 9 intense emotional stages that people experience when you simply disappear. By the end of this video, you'll understand why sometimes the most powerful action is to walk away and never look back. If you're ready to discover your worth, or if you're ready to make them miss you like never before. If you've ever been in a relationship or been in a situation where someone has gotten too comfortable with treating you like an option, this video is for you. Please leave a comment below using the following phrases. By the end of this, you won't ever be an option again, so I'm done being one. If you're ready to permanently change their perception of you, watch this video through to the very end, as there's an additional emotional stage they'll go through that you won't want to miss. Now, let's get first. The sting of rejection began. The sting of rejection. This is where it all starts. They thought you'd always be there, never leave. You worked hard, planned, showed concern, and were always there until you weren't. When you disappear, it's like hitting them with a brick they didn't see coming. You've probably heard the saying, "You never know what you have until it's gone," and that's exactly what happens when you disappear. Let me clarify. When you leave someone's life, it's not just about being physically absent. It's about taking away everything you stood for, including comfort, validation, and the ability to always be available. They feel rejected, but it's not a superficial rejection. Rather, it's a deep personal sting because they realize they don't control you for the first time. They don't like to acknowledge this, but once they know someone will always be there, they begin to treat you like a safety net, making you an option rather than a priority. They felt they could take you for granted, but when you disappeared, you pulled that safety net right out from under them, and that's when the panic starts. They find themselves questioning, how did I allow this to occur? What caused me to lose control? The pain of rejection strikes. The true irony is that they took your affection and presence for granted, assuming you would always be there no matter what they did. Perhaps they even believed they were doing you a favor by having you around. How did I lose control, especially when you were emotionally available to me? They believe they're giving you crumbs, but in reality, you've been the one keeping the relationship together. You can't give them warning, tell them you're leaving, give them an ultimatum, or ask for their attention if you want to make them feel rejected. Disappearing without explanation not only hits them harder, forcing them to reflect on their actions, but also communicates that you've had enough disrespect. When you walk away, don't look back. They will feel the rejection, and trust me, it will hit them in ways they never anticipated. The person they thought they had control over, the one who always stuck around no matter what, has just left the building. Let them deal with the aftermath. Number 2, the void of missing you. After the pain of rejection subsides, they begin to feel a different kind of emptiness. They probably told themselves that they wouldn't mind if you left, that if they did, they'd just move on. However, what happens when you truly vanish? They begin to feel a void, and it's not just any void, but the kind of emptiness that gnaws at them. They go about their days doing the same things they always do, but something is missing. It's then that they realize you were the one who gave their lives purpose. You gave them the energy, warmth, emotional stability, and stability. Without you, everything feels bland. You see, when someone takes you for granted, they assume you're just a part of the background. They assume that the dynamic between the two of you is replaceable. But here's the truth. No one else brings what you did to their life. They might try to fill the void with someone else, but it's never the same. You brought a unique energy, one that made their life easier, more enjoyable, and more fulfilling. The void grows bigger with every passing day. Maybe they thought they could distract themselves with someone new or with their friends. Maybe they thought they could focus on work or throw themselves into hobbies to get over you. But guess what? That void stays there, reminding them of what they've lost. The void is a constant presence, eating away at them because they never thought they'd feel this way about you. Here's the irony. They didn't appreciate you when they had you. They thought they could do better, or perhaps they thought you'd always be around. But the moment you leave, everything changes, and they start missing the little things. Stop them from finding you by blocking them on social media, removing their number, and preventing casual contact. They suddenly crave the small, everyday moments, but you're no longer there to provide them. Check in with you. Remember that people often fail to appreciate their possessions until they are no longer there. Let them miss you and feel your absence. Your absence deepens the void every time they think of you and try to reach out, only to find nothing. Number 3. Overwhelming curiosity. At this juncture, they find themselves immersed in a state of utter emptiness, and a sense of overwhelming curiosity begins to consume them. Their biggest questions are where, what, and with whom. They become obsessed with your life because they no longer have access to you. You're a mystery, and nothing is more unsettling than not knowing what's going on with someone you once knew. Unaware of social media's age, they will now be browsing your Instagram, which is more intense. Facebook, TikTok on all platforms to give people an idea of your activities, but the worst part is that you're not providing them with anything. You've gone black. No updates, no posts, no stories. Nothing, and it drives them insane because people are insecure and their minds become aflutter with questions the moment you disappear. They are inquisitive as to whether you have moved on. Are you currently in a relationship with another individual, or would they be better off without me? They can't handle not knowing, so they become obsessed with trying to find answers. It's a sad sight to see someone who thought they didn't need you now going out of their way to find out what you're doing, but they'll be too proud to admit they care. At this point, they may ask mutual friends about you. A person's curiosity can become a powerful emotion when they are unable to find the answers they seek. Their mind will then fill in the gaps by visualizing you with someone else, imagining you happier and more fulfilled in their absence. This thought consumes them day by day until it becomes an obsession, and the best part is that the less they know about you, the more they want to know, making you the one thing they can't stop thinking about. To feed their curiosity, you must become a ghost. You have the power now, and your greatest asset is their curiosity, so don't give them answers. Instead, give them silence. Avoid posting anything that could reveal details about your life. Let them fret as they try to figure out what's wrong with you every time they check in and find nothing. Number 4. Deep self-reflection. Now, we're entering dangerous territory. For them, after days or even weeks of wondering where you are and what you're doing, they finally turn inward and begin asking themselves the hard questions. Was I too cold? Did I push them away? Did I mess this up? Remorse begins to seep in, and it's a challenging experience to endure. Human nature makes people hate admitting mistakes, but when you disappear, you force them to. Without your presence to comfort them or mediate the situation, they find themselves confronting their own actions, which is an unpleasant experience. They begin mentally reliving each exchange, wondering whether there was anything they might have done better. The times. They didn't respond to your texts. The times they dismissed your emotions, making you feel as if you were an afterthought. This deeply affects them, as they know they had a positive relationship, yet they took it for granted. Now they find themselves engulfed in their own brutal thoughts. This stage is especially powerful because it's internal. They can't blame you anymore. You're not around to argue with or to make excuses for them. The only person they can blame is themselves, and that's a tough pill to swallow. The self-reflection gets deeper as time goes on, and the more they reflect, the more they realize how much they messed up. The guilt builds, and they start wishing they could go back in time and do things differently. But it's too late for that now, during this stage. Don't reach out. Don't try to explain why you left or make them see the error of their ways. Let them figure it out on their own. Self-reflection is most powerful when it happens internally. The more time they spend reflecting, the more they'll realize that they were the reason things went wrong. Let them sit with that guilt. It's a valuable lesson they need to learn. Number 5. The drive to seek you out. After they've had enough time to reflect on themselves, something changes inside of them. They go from doubting themselves to wanting you back. You provided the effort, care, and pursuit. But now it's their turn, and they can't stop thinking about you, wanting to reach out, and wondering if it's too late to make amends. They will begin to send those "I've been thinking about your" texts. They'll like your old Instagram posts, maybe even leave a comment to see if you reply, and then, after a few drinks, they might send you a late-night message hoping to rekindle what was lost. The problem is that they're chasing you now, from taking you for granted to desperately wanting you back, and you have all the power. The urge to pursue you is strong, but you don't have to respond. In fact, you shouldn't let them sense your desperation. The more they pursue you, the more they realize they've lost control of the situation and no longer have the upper hand, which drives them crazy when they start. Don't give up when they approach you, as the power will return to them once you respond. You've put in too much effort to earn your value again, so don't give it away just yet. In this situation, quiet is your best weapon. Let them feel frustrated at wanting something they can't have. The struggle is at number 6, the interplay between relief and regret. When you initially disappear, they may experience a fleeting sense of relief. It's a moment of freedom when they tell themselves, "I finally don't have to deal with them anymore," and they may even feel good about it. However, there's a catch to that so-called freedom. It's an illusion. It seems thrilling at first, but it's fleeting and superficial. They go out, hang out with their friends, swipe right a few times, and for a brief while they believe everything will be all right. But as soon as they're by themselves, sitting in their quiet apartment or browsing through their phone, they start to feel regret, because they realize that freedom without you is really emptiness, and that the people they believed could replace you are only fleeting distractions. Drinking salt water may seem like a remedy when you're thirsty, but it only exacerbates their feelings, increasing their desperation and regret. In today's world of casual dating and hookups, people frequently believe that moving on will be as simple as finding someone new, but this isn't the case. They soon come to the realization that a short-term fix or pointless fling cannot replace someone who has provided them with emotional stability and a genuine connection, and this realization can be devastating. Allow them to feel this freedom. When they begin to regret it, don't rush them back in. Instead, let them sit in that empty space they thought would feel wonderful. Keep in mind that the relief they first experience is fleeting, and your absence will come back to haunt them in unexpected ways. The 7th step is the desire to engage in the game. Once regret sets in, individuals panic and attempt to control the situation, but they are unsure of how to proceed. They try to play games and start acting aloof on purpose to make you jealous by posting pictures of themselves with other people that make it seem like they're happy without you, or they post a cryptic status about moving on, or a selfie that seems a little too hard. The problem is that you're not playing the game anymore. You've outgrown the games, and you've moved past that childish behavior. You don't even notice their petty attempts to get your attention. They believe that manipulation through jealousy or playing hard to get will cause you to chase after them. But what happens when you stop chasing? Subtle jabs. No amount of passive-aggressive, exaggerated social media posts will work, because you're not giving them the attention they want, or using their childish tactics, which drives them insane. When they fail to receive a response from you, they lose their composure, fumbling for something they can no longer control. Don't engage, ignore the cryptic posts, and don't react to the photos. Their game only works if you play the moment you stop responding. The crushing weight of silence. When silent, silence is one of your most powerful tools. Your presence and texts carry more weight than your words, allowing them to focus solely on their own thoughts. This is where things become challenging for them, as the heavy and unbearable silence prompts them to question everything. They reminisce about the times they ignored your calls or were too busy to respond to your texts. Now, they would do anything to hear from you. Silence is terrible for someone who is used to having control. They expect you to reach out and ask what's wrong and beg for an explanation. But what happens when you don't? What happens when you disappear and they have to sit there in silence wondering if they've lost you forever? Every minute without a word from you feels like a year, and the longer it goes, the more anxious they get. Instant satisfaction through messages, calls, and notifications. Everyone wants a response immediately, and when you don't provide it, they become agitated. They are accustomed to the back and forth and disagreements in a relationship, but they also expect silence. Since silence is deafening, let it be your strength. Don't break it or justify yourself. Instead, let them suffer the consequences of their own behavior. They'll quickly understand that losing you is far worse than any argument you could have had. The ninth, what makes them cringe is the terror that comes, them crawling back. Now here's where it all comes crashing down. Fear, this is the part they never thought would happen, the part where they're actually scared of losing you. For a long time, they were comfortable. They thought you'd always be there. They took your presence for granted, thinking you were the one who'd stick around no matter what. But now you're gone, and they're terrified. The fear hits them harder than anything else. They start to think, what if I lost them for good? What if they've moved on to someone else? The idea of you being with someone new consumes their mind. They'll picture you laughing with someone else, making memories with someone else, and the thought of it makes them sick to their stomach. They're no longer worried about their pride, their ego, or playing it cool. Now all they can think about is getting you back. This fear drives them to do things they swore they'd never do. They'll reach out, they'll apologize, they'll beg. Maybe they send long messages explaining how they didn't appreciate you before, but now they realize how much you meant. Maybe they show up at your door unannounced. All they do is driven by the tremendous dread of losing you forever. But the reality is that by the time they feel that anxiety, you've already moved on, found your power and independence, and no longer need them. When they arrive, it's already too late, yet their fear is genuine. Late, but their fear is genuine. Don't give them another chance. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're already ahead of 99% of people and have demonstrated that you are a true Stoic person who seeks depth in wisdom and understanding. If you've watched the entire video, you're eligible for a bonus. This is because many people are afraid to face the consequences of their actions. You've already moved on, and they need to learn that you're not someone to be taken for granted. The understanding of the attainment of emotional autonomy. Understanding your own emotional independence is the culmination of everything. When you vanish, you're not merely leaving them behind, rather you're moving closer to your own freedom, your own emotional clarity. In many relationships, we often become so engrossed in making the other person happy and enhancing our own worth that we neglect our own needs. We often forget that we have the power to walk away and demand better for ourselves. However, once you've vanished and reclaimed your space, you begin to see things clearly. You no longer need their validation. You no longer care what they think, how they feel, or what they want. You've realized that your happiness isn't tied to them, and that's the most powerful thing you can experience. This is your emotional independence, and here's the best part. They feel it too. They realize that you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger now, wiser, more confident. They can sense that you've outgrown them, that you no longer need them to feel complete. At this point, the situation has completely changed. While they remain trapped in their old routines, you've progressed. You've liberated yourself from the cycle of approval, and now their opinion holds no weight. Take charge of your emotional independence. The lesson here is to stop giving people the opportunity to take you for granted and to stop being the person who is always there, regardless of how poorly they treat you, the moment you walk away, the moment you disappear. Don't go back to the old ways. Don't give them the satisfaction of believing they still have control over your happiness. You've moved past that, and that's your biggest victory. If you're prepared to take back your control and cease being an option, everything changes. They will feel it, regret it, and realize they've lost something priceless. Write a comment below with the words, "I'm done being an option," because you're going to become the strongest version of yourself. "I'm tired of being an option," as you're on a journey to become the strongest version of yourself. If this video resonated with you or you felt like your perspective changed, think about becoming a member of the channel. This not only enables us to continue producing high-quality content, but also ensures that it is accessible to a wider audience. If membership isn't for you, click the subscribe button. Both options help the channel grow, and I appreciate all of the support. Keep in mind that you are in control. I'll see you in the next video.